Thanks, Kathleen, and thank you. Um, it's not true that I'm fearless because I'm actually full of fear right now because one of our presenters, Dean Schmidt, is alone in his shop, and he's trying to get on Zoom, but it's so busy there that he's going to be late, and so our other presenter, Alexandra, has agreed to defer to Dean when he comes on. We're going to talk coins in case he has to get up and take care of another customer. But that's just the nature of the biz right now, I guess. And we'll talk about that with Alexandra. So as we go along, this is a fairly informal format. And if you have a question that pops into your brain as we're talking about something, you're welcome to put it in the chat. And I will moderate those questions for our guests. And so anything, that occurs to you, just put it in the chat and we'll make sure that we get to that question. We talked last time about how this will not be an antiques roadshow. So, we can't let you show your jewelry to Alexandra for her to appraise online. But we certainly will give you a lot of information about how that process happens. So those are sort of the parameters for today. So I'm happy to introduce Alexandra Pajareski, right? Yeah. Pajareski, okay. She is the store manager at Marks, and she's also a graduate of the Gemological Institute. And she's here, and Marks Jewelers is in downtown Lawrence. And she's here to talk jewelry. And I know, Alexandra, that there are a lot of us baby boomers who have inherited jewelry from our mothers or fathers or grandmothers, grandfathers, or even further back. So this subject is of great interest to everyone here, and coins as well. So we'll get Dean's input on that when he shows up. But we talked about how busy Dean was, constant customers, and you say it's the same at Marks, right? People are selling.
Oh yeah. Oh no, yeah. This year has been bizarre because I would expect it to be, if anything, much slower, and it's been incredibly busy. So yeah, I mean, especially on this topic, I mean, I see tons of jewelry coming in, like I've got my grandmother's rings, we've got all this jewelry. What do I do with it? So we've been doing a lot of, there is a lot of selling of that kind of thing, which we certainly do, but we've also been remaking a lot of those pieces too into other, newer, maybe updated pieces that you can, distribute to relatives or kids, for yourself even, if it's just something you wouldn't wear anymore. So yeah, we've had a lot of that. But otherwise, even it's been extremely busy. So I don't ask why. But
well, you talked about gold when we were talking earlier. I told you, and I'll tell the group, what I don't know about jewels, fine jewelry and coins could fill my entire house. I'm just not familiar with this topic at all. So I was cramming before, we got on this afternoon, and I just wanted to look up the price of gold from when I was getting married. So I have a gold wedding band, that's it. But the price of gold in 1979 was $350 an ounce-ish, approximately. How much is it now?
As of a few minutes ago, it was 1,840. And that is down here. Hold on, let me check live market.
So approximately like 5 times.
Yeah.
5 times the, is that why people are trying to unload their gold especially?
I think it certainly is part of it. It makes sense, right? You're kind of maximizing your potential profit there. Well, possibly, who knows? It might be $1,000 more in a year, who knows? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so what is the typical scenario? And I know there's not one, but someone, you know, our age, a boomer comes in. Um, we talked earlier about on part one of this, the expectations. It's important to keep your expectations low in terms of the furniture, you know, even the artwork. This is what an estate sale planner told us. You know, it's people do have in their minds that sort of wonderful story from Antiques Roadshow where they bring a thing in, you know, one object and it's worth just $1 million. And they reminded us that, well, that's probably one case out of 500 that day that they picked for that show. Do people have the same expectations for jewelry in that way?
Sometimes, and sometimes I think people are pleasantly surprised with what they end up getting for their jewelry. Now, it's not always that case, right? There is also the opposite reaction where, you know, if our interest in something is minimal, say, you know, if I have, you know, 100 half carat round diamonds of, you know, a specific quality that I don't even have anything to do with them, right? And somebody comes in and wants to sell me one, and technically it should be, you know, X amount of dollars. And I can't really offer anything for it because I already have so many of them, you know, then it can be, you know, potentially disappointing. But there are so many other things you can do if you already have, you know, this, you know, still beautiful diamond, right? Um, so
Yeah. So what are you looking for then? What do you get really excited about when someone brings in, even if they bring in a small collection from their grandmother or whatever, what do you get really sort of jazzed about?
oh, anything unique. It's a little funky, maybe not what you would typically expect, but honestly, a lot of the older jewelry is just so beautiful. We really like it. I mean, older diamonds, like not stones that aren't cut according to, you know, modern standards, to me, I think are really cool. And we're always very interested in those. Um, you know, watches, really cool watches, as long as they're, you know, carat gold or like, I don't know, Omegas or Rolexes, you know, things like that. That's always really neat to see. You know, we have a lot of really old, like 1930s, 1940s Rolexes that are, it's so cool. You know, these watches are working still, you know,
Yeah.
later.
We've already had two questions from two different people about cameos.
Oh
And
yeah,
one is, do cameos have any value?
depends. Um, they're often set in a big gold frame, which will be the primary value in most cases. Uh, you know, it's always good. I have to say, it's always good to let us take a look at it because you never know what you have. Um, it might be something, you know, really remarkable, that might be worth quite a bit, but most of the times it isn't. Um, and
So how do you date them? How do you date a cameo?
that's a tricky thing. A lot of them are not as old as you might think they are. But you know, oftentimes things are actually pretty well marked, like on the piece itself. You know, who made it. It's unlikely that it's when, but the styling of the piece generally. I mean, you can kind of approximate when something would have been made based on the styling.
And do you recycle them, the cameos?
You know, we have a lot of cameos. I have to say it's not a popular item. Um, you know, like when anytime we buy gold, mostly what happens with the gold is we refine it, right? So, you know, we ship a couple pounds of you know, jewelry that we have bought and refine the metal. And sometimes, you know, anything that's left, any stones or cameos, for example, that are left in it, we get back.
Mhm.
Uh, it's kind of hard to figure out what to do with things like that. But we have also just updated pieces like that. Like you can make really cool bracelets if you have a few of those. I mean, you can, there are ways to make something, wearable again. Right.
Right. Well, we have a question about sterling silver, and I know you all, do you buy flatware?
So with sterling silver, because it's I think $24 an ounce right now. You have to have a lot of it in order for it to make any sense to sell. But flatware especially, it adds up quickly. So that is definitely worth, getting a price on, because that is where it gets surprising quickly because it weighs so much. But one thing I will say is that with sterling, in the United States, it will be stamped sterling or 925. And if it says anything like silver plate, there's another, like or SP or something, and anything that does not like specifically say sterling or 925, we won't buy.
What does 925 mean?
925 means 925 per 1,000 parts is silver, pure silver.
Okay. And is that the same value ounce for ounce as silver jewelry would be?
Yes, but silver jewelry is typically much lighter. So, a silver ring will have, maybe $1 or, depending on how big it is, in silver, and, a silver fork, substantially more. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we should backtrack and talk about the services that you all provide, because I know you'll appraise jewelry. I would assume that there's a fee for that. If someone just wanted to insure something that they inherited, or maybe, maybe they've had it for a while and then just determined it's probably worth insuring, you'll do that, right? But then you also have people who come in specifically to sell their things to you.
Right. So if you're just coming in to sell something, there is no fee for that. There's always somebody at the store to, take a look and make an offer. Sometimes if you have a whole lot of jewelry for us to look at, it can take us a little bit of time. And if you leave it with us and, or it can be patient, we'll give you an offer. But we do also insurance appraisals, and insurance appraisals start at $85 a piece. And if you're not sure if you should insure something or not, you can bring it to us and we can take a look at it and help you determine if that's the case.
Yeah, that was a question last time. People wanted to know, how do I know if it's worth appraising? Like, I had, this was, say, a piece of furniture or an artwork. How do I know if it's even worth bringing it somewhere, paying for the appraisal? That was a big question.
Right. Paying for an appraisal and then also paying for insurance on something can be, there's you have to draw the line for yourself where that is. Right. But, if it's going to cost you $85 to appraise something, and then, insuring it, you say you have a value of like, okay, it comes back as a $600 piece. And then you find out that adding it to your insurance policy is going to run you another $25 a year, say, like, maybe doesn't pencil out all the way, right? But it doesn't hurt to check.
Well, while we're pausing, I wanted just to remind people, we are waiting for Dean Schmidt from the Kansas Coin Collection. He's in his shop by himself with no help, and he's hoping to log on soon. But in the meantime, it probably would be a good idea if you all had questions about coins, because I know some of you are here just for that reason. Go ahead and put them in the chat now so that when he gets here, we can make sure that we address your coin and money questions. He does bills too, apparently. So go ahead and do that. Now we've got, this is one I'm sort of interested in. Carola wants to know, how about gold from your teeth?
Yeah. We see that from time to time. Just please don't bring us.
Teeth.
But yeah, we can buy it, but it's gold fillings tend to be lower carat when the metal actually gets assayed. Then so then how we typically would buy things. I mean, typically I'm going to look at something and say, oh, this is 14 karat, so this is 58.5% gold, right? You look at a tooth filling and the 30%, 40%, 50%, who knows? Those don't tend to be very uniform. So while we can make an offer on it, it is, we definitely estimate conservatively on that just because it most of the time is not very much gold. So,
Okay. I want to follow up on the carat. Could you explain just for a beginner the difference in carats where gold is concerned? And when I read that value on an ounce of gold, what carat does that?
so when you're looking at the live market price of gold, you're looking at the price of 1 ounce of pure gold. So that in jewelry terms is 24 karat gold. So for example, in the United States, a lot of jewelry is manufactured in 14 karat gold. So that would mean 14 of 24 parts pure gold, which is 58.5% pure gold. And then the rest of that is, different metals mixed in to create an alloy that produces desirable effects and durability.
Okay. All right.
So 8 karat is 75% pure. 10
Okay.
karat is, I think, 38.5% pure.
Okay. Let's talk about pearls. There's a test that you can, and this is what I've got a lot of. I've got a lot of pearls. I think one strand is real and then the rest are just something else. But people do inherit pearls, and I don't even, are people wearing pearls as much anymore?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm wearing pearls.
Oh, they're okay. You are. Well, but you're a jeweler. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like in the Barbara Bush days, I would think that pearls were, really big, but I don't know now. Are they popular?
Yeah, maybe not applied quite the same way. People are getting a lot more creative with how you incorporate them into jewelry. Like we were doing some pearl chains where we would make chain links with pearl on each chain link, and so you can kind of make a really cool necklace or bracelet, or we even did a pair of earrings like that. That was really cool. But yeah, pearls I see a lot of in the store. People coming in, with a bag of them, not knowing, which one of these necklaces that my grandma gave me is the real deal.
Right. Well,
And
I'm going to pause you just because I see Dean now.
yes, hi, Dee.
And we will go back, everybody, to the pearl test. There is a fun pearl test you can do to see if your pearls are real. But hi, Dean, welcome. We need to unmute you. Let's see. If you could unmute yourself, Dean, please. Oh, let's try it again. Let's see. I'm not sure. Let's try that again. There.
Am I good?
Yep. Can you hear me? Okay, good.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, welcome. I'm glad you're busy at the shop, but is this unusual for you?
No, it comes in spurts, and unfortunately, the spurt started about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and I had people here nonstop. So,
okay. Well, we're glad you're here. We already have a couple of questions for you about coins, but at first, I'm going to give you an opportunity just to tell us. For those who have never been to your shop, it's on Illinois Street. Is it 846? Yep,
yeah,
846. And just tell us what you do, if you don't mind. Basic services type thing.
Well, I mean, I buy and sell collector coins. I buy and sell precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, palladium occasionally. Provide appraisals for people for estates, both for tax purposes and for just trying to figure out what mom and dad left me or whatever, and figure out what the value is and what I'm going to do with it.
Do people still collect coins? Like, because I look at, I'm just guessing here, but I think like the baby boomer generation, it seemed like everybody had a little coin collection at some point. I even have my husband's Lincoln head, the blue books, that everybody had. Are kids still doing that anymore?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Although, like you said, the baby boomers did it. I can remember my uncles and my dad collecting stuff out of circulation, because at that time in the mid 60s to the mid 70s, say, there was an awful lot of silver in coinage that was still in circulation. And pretty much anything that you found, you were finding extra money. If somebody spent a silver dime, it was worth, say, 20 cents at that point in time, I can remember. And all of those kind of people, they, a lot of them had grown up in the Depression or the World War II, and they had a very strong attachment to having money that was worth something, as opposed to, paper money that could be just worth nothing very easily.
And what makes a coin valuable? I mean, this is, and as I explained before you got on, I know little to nothing about this field. And so I really tried to do my homework earlier in the day, and I still don't know a lot. So just tell me what makes, when someone brings you something, what are you looking for that will make it rare or valuable or just exciting to you?
Well, there isn't much that's exciting to me, because I've been doing it for close to 50 years as a collector and 40 years in business. The main thing about coins is whether it's a desirable series that a lot of people collect, and then generally whether the condition of the coin is a lot more important than the age. There's a lot of old coins out there that are, grandma kept, or even great grandma, great grandpa, or whatever, that nobody's ever thrown money away, at least not on purpose. So everything that's been made is out there somewhere. And, the collectors generally want the highest quality example they can find of whatever particular set they're trying to collect, or particular coin that they want for some reason or another, because it's more beautiful if it's original and has its original qualities.
So that sort of segues into Gary's question. He asked, do coins need to be in mint condition to be valuable? I have 44 Indian head pennies. The oldest is 1885.
Well, obviously, if they are in uncirculated condition, they're worth more. Now, Indian cents, I've got an awful lot of them available that are nice looking coins. Most people will be very happy with that. The more common dates from, say, 1895 or 96 to 1908 are worth about $1 a piece in normal circulated condition. If they're corroded, or had a couple come in today that are metal detectors that find a lot of this stuff, if it's corroded, it's going to be worth considerably less, because there are just that many fewer people that want to buy it if it's ugly, unless it's a key date, a very low mintage date that just is not available in low grade.
And Gary also wants to know if there's a way to clean coins without damaging them.
There, in the case of copper and nickel, no. There's practically nothing you can do other than, say, like copper, if it's got some sort of corrosion or surface problem, you can put it in olive oil. That'll help break up the surface if it will. But most cases, I've had fact, they've got one lady that's been bringing in coins, and I've told her it's probably be best if you didn't clean these. She brought in a rare silver dollar that would have probably, based on what I think the coin was before she cleaned it, would have been worth about $4,000. I ended up paying her $500, and I still haven't been able to sell it for $600. So cleaning is absolutely the worst thing you can do, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Clean it like sterling silverware or something like that, which is what she did. You're going to be very disappointed if you clean silver.
Okay. I've asked both of you to think about a case where, or the most valuable item you've ever appraised or bought or sold, and wonder if, Dean, do you have a story, sort of one of those eureka moments? I know you've had a long career.
I used to be more on the national part of the coin circuit, and I had a customer that liked to remain anonymous, and I'd go to auctions for him and buy coins. I bought a coin, it's an 1894 S Barber dime for just short of $700,000.
Wow.
He bought me dinner and gave me a couple $100 for doing it, but it allowed him to remain anonymous, not that because I was the actual bidder. So that hardly counts. I bought several coins that were in the $40,000 to $60,000 range in my time.
And I know you don't get excited anymore, you claim, but what's the holy grail for you now? Like, what is it what's the elusive, the coin or the bill or that you just would love to have?
Really not a collector anymore. The only thing I've kind of collect anymore are some of the banks in Kansas that made national banknotes. There were a few of them here in Lawrence that made them. That it was a period of time when people didn't trust paper money, and these national banks would have to send some of their funds for holding with the federal government, and then the federal government would create paper money with the name of the bank on it that would give people trust that the money was there. If the bank wouldn't go bankrupt, then that paper would be worthless. So I collect some of those. That's the only thing I collect anymore after all these years.
I think part of the dilemma with a lot of us that have these, like these books I talked about that my husband has, he just wants to know whether we have a grandson who might get a kick out of getting these one day, or he just might not. So, I think a lot of us, we commit a lot of storage space to this stuff, never knowing whether, if we pass it along, whether it will be appreciated or what. And not that you can make that decision for us, but do you find people that just more or less want to just liquidate, and at this stage of life, maybe they're downsizing, and or do coins really have sentimental value to people?
I think most of them that I find, that if they approach their family about it, I've got one particular family right now that had 4 siblings. Their father passed away a few years ago, and he had told them, he said, he almost considered his coin collection like another child as much as anything. He couldn't think of selling his collection himself. And, he told them, I just can't do it. But, when the time comes, it's, part of your inheritance, and do what you have to do. And they've been selling it. They actually did a situation where they just sat down one afternoon and it was a lot of coins and a lot of boxes of coins and US Mint product and that. And they just divided it up, not knowing anything among them. They just made 4 piles, took their pile, and they made a promise to each other that they would not reveal if one of them did way better than the others did. As opposed to, I had a collection in Topeka where a very advanced collector had it, but he would not sell it during his lifetime. So he passed, and he had a very nice collection. It was worth about $150,000, and he had 5 heirs, and 2 of them wanted to sell yesterday, and the other 3 thought it was an insult to their father to ever sell his coins. So it ended up being a situation they couldn't get along enough that I went in and made 5 piles, not knowing who was going to get what. And they drew lots to decide who was going to get what, where I made them where they were equal market value at that time.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure on you. Is there much?
Well, not really. It was easy to, figure that out. And then I knew I was going to buy 2 piles. It's just a matter of which 2. So,
Yeah, well, that's true. So is there much interest in foreign coins?
In this area, there just isn't many foreign coins. Most of the better foreign coins are on the coasts, East Coast, where people brought them in, or the West Coast. The people that got here, I think a lot of the people that migrated to the central part of the country didn't have much money. They didn't bring much with them from whatever country they came from. So it's fairly unusual. There was a really prominent collector here in Lawrence that had a really neat set of foreign that before I took over the shop here, the previous owner bought, or helped disperse. Actually, he didn't really buy it. He just bought it on commission and just sold it off for the widow. But it's just like a whole nother section of the market. And I've never really had enough availability to do much other than the very meat and potatoes kind of coinage. A lot of stuff that people bring in is stuff that came back either from World War II or Korea or from various trips, where it really, it was kind of money, but most of the European stuff now isn't even money anymore. Unfortunately, it's all turned over to the euro. So a lot of them are just pretty round pieces of metal at this point that have historic significance to people.
Yeah, I'll do one more to you, and then we'll go back to jewelry. Are the state commemorative quarters that the Mint put out a few years ago worth hanging on to? National parks, national monuments, and
the national parks, I think, have a chance, just because the mintages have been so much lower than the state quarter for the first series that went from 1999 to 2009. Those, for the most part, everything's just money. I sell sets of them in fancy albums that people put together. Say a P&D set of the state quarters would be $25 face, and I sell it with the album for $30. I buy them as close to face as I can to try to help people out. But it's, for the most part, that stuff has no real value. The national parks, a lot of the mintages are 10 to 20% as much as the state quarter. At least some of them will have a chance, especially the collector issue. But hard to say. It's just the Kansas quarter is the next to last one. It's just been released, and there are people kind of getting excited about it around here. It's a pretty neat design. It's got a butterfly on it, but it's a lot of people are asking for it. I just finally get mine in from the Mint. I got my first box with, would have been 120 coins from the various mints. So
okay.
I don't know. I don't really trust too much of the base metal coinage that's made nowadays, because they're making a lot of it, and I just don't see enough collectors for it to ever have a big dent on the demand side.
Okay. I want to go quickly back because to talk pearls with you, Alexandra, and the pearl test. Can you tell us what that is? How to tell if you have the real thing or a fake?
Right. So the test that most people are aware of is that you can rub a pearl on your tooth, and that is actually effective. I would not suggest that you really do it on the sharp point of your tooth, but it will have a slightly gritty texture if you do that. You could also if you don't want to put a pearl in your mouth, as I never do, if somebody brings me a strand of pearls, you can just put them up to your ear and take 2 and rub them together lightly, and if you sense a slightly gritty texture, you can that's indicative of it being a real pearl. Another way to determine that, like say you have several strands in front of you, one of them is the real deal. It'll be cold when you put it on, and substantially heavier too than others. Pearls, nice pearls, nice real pearls will have a very reflective luster too. So it is pretty easy to determine, if you have a little faith in yourself, you can, whichever one looks like it's probably the real one, probably is. Also, I will say that natural pearls are never really uniform, right? There will always have tiny little blemishes on the surface, or there'll be a variation in the size if it's in a strand. It won't be exactly identical to its neighbor. They'll have knots typically between each one. If you examine the pearl right where it is knotted, if it's a fake pearl, it's likely right there you'll start to have a little bit of chipping, of the fake coating over the plastic. If you can see a plastic bead coming out underneath, it's not the real thing.
Okay, and what are pearls worth these days?
Not as much as people think. I don't tend to buy pearls. Pearls are an organic substance and they do age. And while there is in specific categories a good market for it, it tends to be one of those things that I suggest you restring. We can make it into something else, or you can give away to children, grandchildren. But yeah, it isn't one of those things that carries a lot of value, unless it's in very particular categories.
And how much does it cost to melt down something large like a silver sword, or we got a question. It just in terms of just, I guess, literally melting it down.
Well, wow, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I guess I would have to take a look at it and see what we're talking about here. But if you want to melt metal down and reuse it for something, say you want to, I don't know, make matching bracelets for everyone in your family out of this sword, it can be, it doesn't always necessarily cast very well,
Okay, we can have, let's see who asked that question. Jean. Okay, yeah, we'll open the mics up in just a bit. And here's a coin question, but we've lost Dean momentarily. So, okay, what about amber? Is there much interest in amber, and is there any way to tell real from fake amber?
Yes, you have to bring it to us, and we can take a look at it and determine that. Honestly, no. People don't come in specifically looking for amber, although I am very fond of it personally. But it tends to be the piece, the actual piece of jewelry that's holding the amber. If you have some, totally magnificent ring, that I've never seen before, and it's got a piece of amber in the middle, then yeah, it's something we're super interested in, right? But if you just have an amber, a very simple silver, which is amber is typically set in silver. You just have a very simple silver pendant with a piece of amber in the middle. It's probably not anything that we would really make you an offer on, for example.
Okay. I apologize. I don't know what's happened to my camera, but that's Kathleen Morgan's picture. And I'm assuming you can still hear my voice, but I can't seem to get it back on. This happened to me the other day. So we'll just continue on. Sorry about the recording, anyone watching this recording later. So let's talk just about other, diamonds, obviously. We've talked about that. We talked about gold. What about, the other gemstones that are high value? And again, I'm I'm guessing, rubies, emeralds, all the ones that, sapphires, the ones that you think of.
Yeah, right. Definitely, you want us to take a look at them for you. Oftentimes, those stones will have abrasions on the surface because diamond is a very, very hard substance. It has a grade of 10 on the Mohs scale. Something like a sapphire or a ruby is one step down, but having a grade of 9 doesn't mean that it's just 1/10 as hard. It's actually hundreds of times softer. So oftentimes those stones will have like lots of little scratches or little chips on them, and sometimes that's absolutely fine the way it is. You can still use those stones, but oftentimes we can also improve the finish of the stone, repolish and get it back to its original state. And sometimes in very, if it's a absolutely beautiful sapphire, absolutely beautiful ruby or emerald, or even other uncommon stones, we will be interested in them. But again, that's not as common as, say, us being interested in a diamond.
Okay. Can you talk about ivory and both jewelry and figurines?
Yeah, that's kind of hard because we can't really trade with ivory. So, I can tell you if it's ivory, right? But beyond that, I can't really do anything with it. I can maybe make something else out of it, but we're not supposed to be trading.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dean's back, and Dean, I have a question for you. Do Maria Theresa coins have any value? Maria
Oh,
Theresa.
the Maria Theresa dollars. They're about the size, a little bit bigger than our old silver dollars. I've got a couple of them that I would sell for $25 a piece. So I guess they have some value, but they're mainly silver. They made restrikes of them for many years. In fact, I think they're still making restrikes of them, but that's roughly what they're worth.
Okay. And you deal in paper too, bills. Can you tell me the kind that you're looking for? Are they just old, or is there?
The large size paper's got probably the dimensions. I can't remember the exact paper dimensions. I've got one around here that I can show. Just a second.
Okay. Well, ooh, that looks like a safe. I'm sorry you can't see me anymore, but your picture is lovely, Kathleen. I don't know what happened. Oh, okay. Dean's back. All right.
Here's a standard $2 bill that you can buy that you use for money. It's $2. This is compared to the large size, which was made up until about the time of the Depression. 1928 was the first series of the small size notes. So that's more, the large size notes are extremely popular. A lot of people have old small size currency. Most of it's worth a small fraction over the price, the face value. Say like silver certificates, $1 silver certificates come in every day, and I buy them for $1.20 and sell them for $1.50, as opposed to the silver dollar that you should have been able to get with them back in the 60s that are worth at least $20 today. So.
Okay. And we've got one for you, Alexandra. How have lab generated gems affected the jewelry market, and how do you tell which are the best ones?
Right. Well, there are two different categories there. So, but 20, 30 years ago, lab grown gemstones like sapphires, rubies, and emeralds became very popular. And, there was a big panic in the industry that, oh gosh, this is the end of, mined sapphires, as we know it. But it's not really the case. You could pretty easily see the difference between, a lab-grown ruby and a natural ruby, or an emerald or a sapphire even. They tend to have a very richly saturated color, and aren't typically very flawed at all. They almost, they have a almost fake appearance, so it's pretty clear to see it. And I find that most people still do prefer the appearance of the natural gemstone. But in the last few years, there have been really big advancements in lab-grown diamonds. Back when I was in school at the Gemological Institute, I would look at a lab-grown diamond and it looked terrible. It'd have big pieces of metal in it, and I never even considered that would really make a substantial impact on the jewelry industry. But that technology has improved massively, and actually we sell quite a bit of lab-grown diamonds. They're always very clearly described as that, but they look amazing. To the naked eye, it's very, very difficult to tell the difference. It's even difficult for me to see a difference in them sometimes. Yeah, I have a very neutral opinion on them.
Okay, well, speaking of the naked eye, I'm interested from both of you how, with the pandemic has affected, well, maybe the question is, are you able to appraise jewelry or coins virtually, or do you have to see them with your naked eye and feel them and have more of that sensory experience, or is it possible to Zoom with someone and tell them what they've got? Dean?
I would say if the item is certified by one of the major certification services for better coins, whether it's gold or silver, or any rare coins, I can give a pretty good estimate of what I'll pay. And a lot of times you can make a hard estimate, where it's, hey, I'll pay this, and that's for sure. With uncertified material, I can give an estimate or give a range and usually be pretty close, but there's so much that can be different when you see it in person. Some things just don't show up. That's the reason I have to use a 5-power magnifier to certify anything that's scarce that could be counterfeited, which is a major problem in our business because so much stuff is being made as replicas and sold as replicas from China, but it gets over here and gets into the market. People that know enough to be dangerous end up buying it. They come in here and then they're mad at me when I tell them that they bought something that came from China for $10 and they paid $100 for it because they thought it was worth $500. And then I'm the bearer of bad news and I'm the bad guy. So it can be done, but I a lot of times have people take pictures with their smartphone where I can at least give them an estimate, especially because a lot of people drive an hour to 2 hours to get here, especially from west to here. There aren't any coin dealers. I don't want somebody to have a 4-hour round trip to find out that they've got something they didn't need to come.
Yeah. Alexandra?
Yeah, it's a little hard with jewelry. It really is one of those things that we do have to look at closely. So Dean needs 5 times magnification. I need to look at things times 10. And so sometimes you can give a good estimate, and same with Dean. Like if say you've got a 2-carat diamond and it has a lab report that I can look at, I can give you an idea. But I say even with that diamond, I would have to look at it and examine it personally with magnification to determine that nothing about the stone has changed, right? So I suppose I could provide an estimate, but it would only be an estimate, right? I wouldn't be able to say, oh yeah, I'll drop a check in the mail for this stone if I haven't seen it.
So maybe the safe pandemic way to do it is to maybe leave the items with you all, and if someone didn't want to do it in person.
Sure, yeah, and we're more than willing to do whatever it takes to make people comfortable. To you can either come in, drop it off, leave, or we've been picking things up for people, even delivering them, and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it is a pretty limited contact thing either way.
Okay. Well, I have read all the questions from the chat, at least. Kathleen, I'm at a disadvantage here.
Yeah,
I can see everyone, but I don't. Do we want to unmute people and have them?
Let's see.
Raise your hand if you want to ask a question.
Oh, here, Jean Klein wants to ask a question.
Hi, I was the one who asked about melting down a early 1900s rapier, sterling silver rapier. I think part of what I'm thinking is that my family isn't going to want it. Theater departments aren't going to want it because it's a little, rickety. So I'm just wondering if it could, just to melt it down for recycling purposes, not necessarily to make any money on it or anything, but just to recycle it. Can you melt things down, or how would I go about getting it melted down?
Yeah, we could. We wouldn't do that personally. We would have a refinery do that. And I'm not sure what the price would be for that specific thing, but we could find out for you.
Okay.
We'll find out and put that on the follow-up, put that on the resources page.
Thank you.
Dean, did you have any thoughts about that?
Buy a lot of old sterling flatware and personalized or engraved plates and whatever else that it all goes. If it's been personalized or so flatware that's been hallmarked with somebody's initials or whatever, then you pretty much just have to get scrapped. I get about between an 8 and 10% discount, less than what the theoretical melt price would be, and I try to buy it for 15 to 20% less to try to make something and have some security against the market, because I have to send in about 500 ounces to get that price.
Okay. All right. I am going to unmute everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
Kathleen? Oh, Zoom. Oh, Zoom. That's not it. All right, let's just do it individually.
Yeah, that's easy.
We can do that. And meanwhile, raise your hand if you have a question, and I will unmute you individually if you have something you want to ask live.
And I think people can unmute themselves too.
Yeah, I think they can too. So
that might be the easiest way.
Okay. No? All right. Well, if you have any questions that you want to send, we could email. We don't want to take too much advantage of our presenters, but certainly you can go visit them or call them. Dean, I know you have a lot of walk-in customers. Are you also doing appointments?
My policy since COVID has started to try to keep the health department happy is to just have one customer or party at a time. Everybody just has to take turns. So other than days when I'm not normally open, I'll do appointments if it's some sort of an appraisal that would take a considerable amount of time and wouldn't want to have somebody having to wait.
Okay.
And unfortunately, with the weather changing and people having to sit in their cars, it could get to be a problem going for the next few months, I expect, but we'll make do whatever we have to do.
And Alexandra, what's the policy down at Mark? Can somebody make an appointment, or is it sort of the same deal?
You could, but just with the way traffic works for us downtown, it just makes sense to come in whenever you can. Sometimes it makes sense to double check and make sure that, you know, someone's going to be there, but there's always somebody there. But yeah, our store is really big. And so there's plenty of space inside for people to, you know, socially distance themselves. And yeah, we haven't really had any trouble with it, but yeah, I mean, you know, we try to follow, you know, all the guidelines, and we constantly clean everything, and everyone's always wearing a mask. So yeah, you're always
Okay.
welcome as long as you have a mask.
Great. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I guess we'll call it a wrap. Thank you for your patience with my technical difficulty.
Yeah,
And thank
maybe
you.
everybody could unmute themselves and we can give everyone a round of applause.
Yeah, I want very much, Dean and
Yay.
Alexandra, thank you so much for helping us
Yes.
out. This has been a popular one, a lot of interest in both topics, coins and jewelry.